The train hissed into the station like a wounded animal, coughing steam across the wooden platform as the sun dipped low over the plains. Dust hung in the air, tinted gold by the dying light, and the quiet murmur of voices held the same tension. As the coiled rattle of a snake not yet seen. Boots thudded on the planks. Horses snorted in the distance. Somewhere, a harmonica tried and failed to bring cheer. Ezekiel Harper stood at the edge of the crowd, the brim of his weathered hat pulled low over his brow. His coat was patched, dust-coated, and stiff from wear. He hadn't come for spectacle, he'd come for salt, nails, and maybe a few lengths of wire if the price was decent. But the crowd was thick, all heads turned toward something near the tracks, and a voice raspy and bored called over them, "Next lot." One female, presumed able-bodied, age unknown. Found wandering near the border in poor condition, no claims, sheriff's orders. There she was, shackled at the ankles, hooded, covered in a coarse, oversized sack dress that looked more fitting. For grain than flesh. She stood motionless while laughter bounced off the walls of the saloon and general store behind her. She talk? Someone jeered. The deputy shrugged. Not a word. Ezekiel squinted. Her posture was rigid but unafraid. Not slumped, not trembling. Silent, yes, but not broken. There was something in the way she held still, like a creature testing the wind before it bolted. Bidding started low. She wasn't worth much to the crowd, no name, no story, no proof. Of worth, just a shape of a woman in burlap and silence. $2, $2.50, $3. A pause, $3.50, final. Ezekiel's mouth opened before his mind caught up. 4. Heads turned. A ripple passed through the bystanders. The auctioneer arched a brow. "Didn't peg you for the type, Harper." "I ain't," he muttered. "Sold." She didn't react, not to the finality of the word, not to the murmur that followed. Just stood there, hooded and still, while Ezekiel stepped forward and took the receipt from the deputy's rough hand. A metal key clinked into his palm. He unlocked her shackles himself. They fell to the wood with a clunk, heavy and reluctant. She didn't move. "Come on," he said, not unkindly. She followed without a sound. They walked out of town in silence, past the watchful eyes of those who whispered behind hands and toothpicks. The setting sun spilled blood-orange light across the prairie, and Ezekiel's boots left deep imprints in the dirt road. The wagon waited beneath a twisted pine, his mule already restless in the harness. He helped her up. She sat with her hands folded, the hood still over her head. He offered bread and a tin cup of water. She drank with steady hands but didn't lift the hood. They rode in silence until the lights of town were a memory. The land opened around them like a forgotten promise. Flat and wide, windswept and dry. Ezekiel's ranch was 2 days' ride. Tucked near a creek that only ran in spring and a stretch of land no one fought over anymore. He hadn't bought a bedroll for her, hadn't planned anything. That struck him now, as foolish as it was revealing. That night, they camped near an outcrop of red stone. The fire crackled low. Coyotes cried in the distance. He laid out beans and coffee, neither of which she touched. He didn't press her. He sat on the opposite side of the flames, elbows on knees, watching the wind dance through the mesquite. "I ain't gonna hurt you," he said, voice rough from disuse. "Ain't gonna ask nothin' of you, not tonight. Not ever, if that's your wish." She turned her head slightly toward him. The hood shifted just enough to reveal the edge of her jaw slim, pale beneath the dirt. Minutes passed. A night bird. Called once, then again. The fire popped out then. She spoke. "Anna." The word floated across the flames like the last note of a hymn. Soft, barely formed. Ezekiel froze. That name Anna, it hit like a shot to the ribs. His heart clenched, stuttering. In his chest. That was the name they had chosen, long ago, for a daughter who never drew breath. The name Sarah had whispered in his ear before the fever took her. The name he had carved, years later, into a piece of driftwood and thrown into the creek after burying them both. "Anna," he repeated. She nodded once, the movement almost imperceptible. A breeze kicked thus through the firelight. He looked down at his calloused hands, fists clenched tight on his knees. He didn't know who she was. He didn't know why she had said that name, but something passed between them, then something not born of logic or words. Just a thread, thin as smoke, pulling them both away from where they'd been. He didn't sleep that night. Nor did she. They sat in the orange glow of dying embers, two silhouettes against the wild black of the frontier sky, both more ghost than flesh. The fire burned low dot in the distance. Clouds began to gather on the horizon. The wind shifted, bringing with it the scent of iron and storm dot, and the woman with no name sat beneath her sackcloth hood. Waiting for what? Ezekiel did not yet know, only that something had changed. And he could never go back. Not now. Not after Anna.